Ambassador, the EU Trade Commissioner has said that the European Union is going to stand up to trade bullies. Is the Trump administration becoming a trade bully?
I think we have a disagreement with this administration over the issue of steel and aluminium tariffs. We think the proposed imposition of those tariffs on European companies is unfair and not justified. And if the tariffs are eventually imposed, we will react as we feel appropriate. We hope that this will not happen. There's a possibility of an exemption for certain countries, and that's the channel we're going to work in the immediate future.
Right, but the European Union has not been mentioned necessarily in those exemptions. In fact, the President on Saturday and again this morning tweeted in ways that made it sound like he was very not happy with the European Union. He says the European Union has large tariffs and barriers against the United States. If you don't get an exemption, will the EU retaliate against American products?
If the proposed steel and aluminium tariffs are imposed on European exports, then yes, we will use our rights under the World Trade Organization to impose rebalancing tariffs on American exports. We hope that won't be the case. I know that the President has made some critical remarks about the European Union. We don't share the President's perspective. I don't think it's fair to characterize the European Union as protectionist or posing barriers to American exports. We are one of the largest trading economies in the world, and we're one of the most open, and we trade enormously with the United States. But if that's a conversation the President wants to have, I think he should hold it with his European interlocutors, President Juncker of the European Commission, and we can continue that conversation. But on the immediate issue of the tariffs, we are pursuing the avenue of a possible exemption for the European Union, failing which we will reserve our rights under the World Trade Organization.
Would the President's proposed measures against European steel and aluminium exports to America actually have a material impact on European producers? I think Germany is only something like 3% of America's total imports of steel.
Well, we are actually the largest exporter of steel to the United States. We're the second largest by volume and the largest by value. So total European Union exports of steel are quite important. The total value of those exports is around $8 billion. And that's the value of the European exports which would be affected by these tariffs if they are imposed.
So it would have an impact on European companies then?
It would very much have an impact on European companies, and we, of course, feel obliged to protect their interests.
OK, I'm going through the list of things that the EU has talked about in terms of retaliatory measures. It's bourbon from Kentucky, Harley-Davidsons, which come from Wisconsin, orange juice, which comes from Florida. These are all very important states in American politics, as you know. Is this a political gesture that the EU is proposing?
Well, the Commission has proposed an indicative list. This is being discussed with the member states. And in choosing the products, of course, you always look at those which will have the maximum impact in terms of the effect desired. So we'll see
impact politically, you mean?
Also economically, because the desire is to send a message that the damage inflicted on European exports will be reciprocated in terms of having an impact on American exports. Right. I want to emphasize, though, that this is not where we want to be, and we hope that we will not have to take this forward.
But if there is going to be a trade war, just to be clear, the European Union will fight back.
Well, I really don't think it would be right to characterize this as a trade war, and we sincerely hope that it is possible to have a dialogue and to come out of this situation without tariffs being imposed on either side. That's our objective. If that is not the case, and if tariffs are imposed on European exports, then indeed we will have to protect the interests of our industry in the way we best see fit.
Ambassador O'Sullivan, thanks very much for joining me.
You're very welcome. Thank you.